for the first time with Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback. And then we head to our nation's capital. Meeting of the top two players taken in the 2024 draft. Caleb Williams and the Bears visiting Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Bears have won 2 straight coming off a bye. Commanders have won 5 in a row at home. And we begin NFL Live with some breaking news. Adam Schefter with us right off the top. Schefty, what can you tell us?
Hannah, the Tennessee Titans have become the first NFL team this season to fire their head coach, Brian Callahan. He went 4-19 in 2 seasons. The team struggled. It struggled to protect its #1 overall pick, Cam Ward. It won 1 game in Arizona. Everybody remembers that game from last week when Amari DiMercato fumbled the touchdown into a touchback. And now the Titans have fired Brian Callahan. We're waiting to see who they decide to appoint as the interim head coach. A couple of candidates on staff that would make sense. Mike McCoy, formerly the head coach of the Chargers. John Fossil, who served in an interim role before. We'll see what direction they go, but they better figure it out quickly because this weekend, one of the coaches that the Titans already fired, Mike Vrabel, is leading the Patriots back into Tennessee to face the Titans.
How ironic is that? Thanks, Adam. We'll get back to you shortly. Listen, we have so much to get to. We have the crew to do it. We have J-Mac. We have Field Yates here. Dan Orlovsky's in Atlanta to call the game tonight. Mina Kimes is with us. Dan, let me start with you. What's your reaction to this news?
Yeah, the first call I would make if I was Tennessee would be to a guy who's going to be coaching on the field tonight behind me. It's Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. The second call I would make is Mike McCarthy, then Vance Joseph. I'd call Arthur Smith, who's doing a great job in Pittsburgh, and Jesse Minter as the defensive coordinator of the Chargers. Those would be the first 5 on my list. You have to have somebody that has at least a vision of what is next for Cam Ward. It's going to be very much so dependent on trying to get him to play up to his best possibility. The reality is, yes, this is a results-based business, but there's also an improvement that was needed in Tennessee. That did not happen. There wasn't, at least on tape, didn't see to be on a ton of buy-in from some players when it came to what Brian Callahan was preaching, and they obviously did not win. So it's a new start. They got to build some at least continuity in Tennessee. They fired a lot of people in the last 5 or 6 years, but those names that I mentioned would be my first calls for Cam Ward and the Titans' future.
Yeah, you hate this midseason for Cam Ward, rookie quarterback. Having that kind of change is never a good thing, but it's also not surprising. Callahan, there's the win-loss record, but he was brought in to fix the offense coming from Cincinnati, and the offense has been an abject disaster this year. They rank last in just about every meaningful category, but the one that really jumped out to me they're averaging under 4 yards per play on offense. To put that in perspective, there has not been a single NFL team in the last 20 years over the course of a season that's averaged under 4 yards per play. I know it's week 6, but things haven't been trending in the right direction. On top of that, there's been issues with clock management. I think back to the end of the first half versus the Colts, the field goal fiasco, admissions about not knowing the rules, you remember, with the catch. And all told, this is not entirely surprising, even if you do worry about what it means for Cam Ward's development this year.
Yeah, it seems to be the norm. 17 out of the last 39 quarterbacks drafted since 2016. Head coach has been fired in either the first year or following the first year. So when you look at that, that seems to be what Cam Ward is going to go through and what so many other guys like him have gone through as first-round draft picks. I look at this situation for the Tennessee Titans, and Dan hit on what's the future for them when they start interviewing who's going to be the permanent head coach. But for right now, they have the New England Patriots coming into town Sunday. Mike Vrabel was there, had a lot of success, was coach of the year. I got to assume they're maybe looking at this situation and saying, hey, maybe we get a little bump from an interim head coach letting go of Callahan as Vrabel's coming into town. And if they were going to let go of him maybe after, you don't want to give him that satisfaction. I don't know exactly why right now in this instance, maybe just to move on and see what's next. But hey, for Cam Ward, it is a long road ahead now.
They're going to need that interim head coach to be able to cover pass catchers with the way that Drake May is playing right now. Because this Patriots offense is certainly finding its rhythm, at least in the passing game. It's the perfect storm here for Brian Callahan. I think there are people that closely monitor this team that think this might even be a few weeks too late. 4 wins and 23 efforts. The only win this season, frankly, was a game that the Cardinals lost. The Titans won that game, but Arizona really handed it to them as well. On top of that, I felt like at some point a change was coming when I heard their best player, Jeffrey Simmons, yesterday after the game talking about how Thursday was their worst practice perhaps of the entire season. The team finally getting a little bit of momentum after a win, maybe feeling slightly better about itself, and then your best player basically saying the tone was set on Thursday in a negative way. Not a surprise. I guess these are always a little bit surprising given the timing, but at some point this change was coming, Dano.
Yeah, so let's be honest about the Tennessee Titans, though, okay? I don't know their ownership group, and there's a lot of respect, obviously, but their ownership in the last 4 or 5 years, babyface, you know this, has fired a general manager, and then hired a new general manager, and then fired a coach, and fired that coach, and fired that general manager, now hired a new general manager, and hired a new coach, and fired the coach. There's no continuity within the organization when it comes to top-down leadership, and so Tennessee, new stadium, super talented quarterback, new general manager comes from Kansas City in the recent past year. You've got to make sure that you get these choices right of general manager, head coach, and the people around the quarterback to build long-term success. This can't just be let's hire and fire every 2 years because you're not going to win that way. You're not going to get your young quarterback to play well that way.
And let's give you the list of names that you're talking about there, Dan. They fired General Manager John Robinson, who had collected a tremendous collection of talent there in Tennessee. Then they fired Mike Vrabel, who obviously has gone on to have the success that he's had here in New England. Then they fired Rand Carthen, who did a nice job there and was one of the bright young minds in the NFL. And now they fired Brian Callahan. So they've gone through an awful lot of people in Tennessee. You mentioned the new stadium coming. That could be a part of it. But the fact of the matter is there were a number of gaffes this season. I think people across the league thought the Titans would be patient to the end of the year, but obviously the owner did not want to do that.
The last 4 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall, and 6 of the last 8 have now seen their head coach fired during their rookie season.
Whoa.
All right, much more on that coming up. I know that's brutal, right? All right, Lions, Chiefs.
That he feels he is alone and others aren't doing that, and not even my coach is helping me do this. That's when you have frustration at the podium.
Bro, it's literally week 6. It's week 6 in the season. We're not talking OTAs. We're not talking minicamp. It's week 6, and you're sitting here talking about, whether a meeting should be voluntary, mandatory, if guys going to show up or not. This is going on during the season. During the season,
So
bro.
what does that say to you?
That Mike McDaniels is a dead man walking. Right now, we've been talking about culture, locker room. It seemed like all season long, even in the offseason for the Miami Dolphins. And you're having these discussions to the media? Like, it's over in Miami.
I mean, and look, I get it. I shouldn't have called the guy nerd boy or whatever. I shouldn't have said that. All right? But he's not inspiring anybody. Nobody. And this whole offseason, they had all these, they were disconnected in the offseason.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you get to week 1, and I said that because I see it on the field. This defense stinks. Like, they have a lot of good players. They stink right now. And then Tua comes out, throws 3 picks, and then he's going to say this. And here's what it screams to me. All right? This guy has tried to do it behind the scenes. Tua has tried to rally the troops behind the scenes. It hasn't worked. So now he goes, you know what? Forget it. I got it. The only last swing I got is to do it publicly. And that's where it's got no chance. And you're right. The guy's dead man. I think he's got a good brain, offensive coach-wise, but he's not a damn leader of men. He's not a head coach. It's pretty obvious.
Schefter, you guys are very convinced. Is it possible that Tua was just riffing and talking and said what he said without even thinking about it? You're saying it's premeditated and he knew what he was doing and he went out there because there's not a more damning statement he could make about his head coach and organization than the one he did at the scrimmage.
I would say exactly those things, but also the other players in the locker room. That how can you have certain players that do not show up on time for the players-only meeting? Because usually those meetings are agreed upon by everyone. All right, let's have one. No, we don't want the coaches here. We want to come, and then players don't come to that, and then you should have a faction of players that regulate that to the other players. Very quickly.
The fact that Tua at the podium is airing all of this just tells you that it's done. It's over. Because how often do players Brew, you know this. How often do players say this type of stuff at a podium?
They don't.
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
Rarely ever.
Certainly not during the season.
Yeah.
So we will have our eye on the coaching situation there.
Well, I better take this.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. There's a big rumor. There's a big rumor out there.
Yeah.
Have you heard from the Dolphins?
Oh, hell no.
Thank you.
Fair enough.